It's that time of year again, Seminole fans. The 2019 Florida State football schedule has been announced. Nole insiders Lane Hurt and Tim Linnefelt here with you. We're going to break down that schedule. But first, here it is, and it all starts on August 31st in Jacksonville, Florida, as Florida State will take on Boise State in a neutral site game. Then it's back at home to face ULM on September 7th. ACC play begins on the road. For the first time in 9 years, the Seminoles will travel up to Charlottesville to take on Virginia, and then it's back home for a pair. Louisville on September 21st, followed by NC State on the 28th. A bye week begins October for Florida State, and then it's a pair of road games beginning with the defending national champion Clemson Tigers on October 12th, and then the 19th, they head up to Winston-Salem to take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Back home for a pair to close out October and begin November, Syracuse on October 26th, and rival Miami on November the 2nd, and then back on the road at Boston College November 9th, home for Alabama State on the 16th, and then a second bye week for the Noles before closing the season on November 30th at Florida. Tim, first look at the schedule, what was kind of your initial reaction to what you saw?
A few things. One, you mentioned at the tail end there, 2 bye weeks is always something that's a little bit interesting. I think coaches are probably pretty happy for that. A bye week before Florida, that's become something of a rarity over the last several years. You know, actually was going back through the archives and the old media guides. It was actually back in the 80s pretty common for Florida State to have a week off before playing Florida, but the first time that's happened in a while, I think probably a good thing for Florida State, and something Willie Taggart's happy about, especially because if you look at Florida's schedule, what do you know? They have a bye week before playing Florida State as well. So both fan bases will have a lot of time to kind of build up the anticipation. Both fan bases will have a lot of time to build up the anticipation and the energy for that one. But beyond that, you got a bye week before Florida, bye week before Clemson, so plenty of time to get ready for some of your 2 biggest rivals. And then also a home game against Syracuse before Miami. So obviously you can't have 3 bye weeks, but knowing that you don't have to be on the road before you face that Miami team as well, I think that's a break for Florida State.
You look at the makeup of the schedule, there's the possibility and potential of a chance for Florida State to build some momentum early on in the season.
Yeah, there really is between Boise State and ULM. You start off the season in Jacksonville, a place that I don't know that there's anywhere outside of Doak Campbell Stadium that's been more kind to Florida State than Jacksonville. Florida State is 14-2-1 all-time over in Jacksonville. There have been some really memorable games over there, and most of them wins. And you come back home to face ULM, and that should be fun too, as a rematch, so to speak, of a pretty fun game from a couple years ago and Odell Hagen's debut as the interim head coach. But to me, it looks like an opportunity for Florida State to be 1-0 and 2-0. And the fact is, the Seminoles have started off 0-1 in each of the last 2 seasons, and kind of how deflating that can be and how you sort of feel like you're behind the 8 ball. It's a feeling the Florida State fans weren't used to for a long time over the past decade, and I think maybe you're a little too used to it right now. You'd like to reverse that trend, and certainly no knock on Boise State because I think they're a talented team, and you're going to have to play well to beat them. But compared to what you've had in the last couple of years, it's an opportunity, I think, like you said, to put your best foot forward, get some positive momentum under your belt before heading out on the road for ACC play.
Now here's where we differ a little bit, our most challenging stretches. I say that later stretch in the season where you've got Syracuse, Miami, and Boston College. Syracuse, obviously under Dino Babers, had their best season in a while, and they seem to be an up-and-coming team. And obviously one of your biggest rivals in Miami, those back-to-back home games. And then November 2nd at Boston College. I'm pleading to you schedule makers, the networks, to pick maybe a noon game for that one for someone who has to be down on the field. But I think that's
cold.
I think it's a very challenging stretch for the Noles. You have another thought on that?
I do think that's a difficult stretch, but I also look a little bit earlier in the season, starting with that road game at Virginia, an unfamiliar place against a team that's had a lot of success lately, had a really good year under Bronco Mendenhall in 2018, capped it off with a huge victory over South Carolina in their bowl game. So I think that's going to be a tough game in Charlottesville. Then you come home, you face Louisville, NC State, have the bye week, then go to Clemson, go to Wake Forest, come back home to face Syracuse. That's 5 straight games against the ACC Atlantic Division. I think by the end of that stretch, you're going to know exactly what kind of season you're having, whether or not you're contending for a division title or not. It's going to be tough. We know what Syracuse, how they're trending under Dino Babers. NC State and Louisville have been challenging opponents for the last couple of years, and obviously there's some turnover at NC State with the roster and the quarterback situation there, and then obviously some big turnover at Louisville with their new coaching staff. But those games games have always been tough the last couple years. And then, what do you say about Clemson? They're the cream of the crop in college football right now. There's no denying that. And you get to go to Death Valley, the place that is, it's difficult to play. So to me, by the end of that stretch, you get to it, and you'll know exactly what kind of season Florida State's having in 2019.
Trip you're most looking forward to, and that does include Jacksonville, if that's a city that you really enjoy to visit. For me, Charlottesville. I think Virginia's campus is beautiful. It's a very unique stadium where it's a bowl. You have to go down the stairs to get into it. Just a beautiful campus.
Yeah, that's a neat one. For me, it's Boston. I like Boston College. I like lobster rolls. I like clam chowder. I like American history and all that kind of stuff. So.
I don't like freezing my butt off.
Well, I can't help you there, but for me, it's pretty tough to beat Boston in those odd-numbered years.
There you have it, Seminole fans. It's the 2019 schedule. Of course, you can buy your season tickets. Go on to Seminoles.com for all your ticket information that you need. And we'll have much more this month. We have the signing day coming up soon. Of course, spring practice coming up in March. Much, much more as Florida State looks to start over in 2019. For Tim, I'm Lane. Go Noles.